All right. In this video, I want to talk about how easy it is to apparently deceive people and get them to think a little highly of themselves. And basically get them to go along with what everybody else is going along with while thinking they are not. Right? This reminds me of when I was talking about the mark of the beast, how they could easily get a whole lot of people to take it by having the right and left to say that people need to take it, but you need to take it in your right hand, or you need to take it in your forehead, right? So the left would say you need to take it in your forehead. The right would say you need to take it in your right hand. And people would be like, that's just stupid to take it in your forehead. It's stupid to take it in your hand. All right? And they'll argue on that, acting as though they're not taking the mark because they took it in a different place than the other person. Right? And I was like, I could imagine that being a scenario that actually happens because of how just dumbed down and deceived people really are. So in this video, what I want to talk about is how people talk about people being dependent on the government. And they were saying when you rely on the government for protection, food, water, clothing, shelter, and everything else you need, then you become dependent on the government. You need the government, and that gives the government power and control. And it takes away your independence, right? And these people who claim to be independent point that out. It will claim that these people who are clinging to the government and being freeloaders and whatnot, that they're dependent on the government, but they are not. And that's where the deception comes in, where they act like they're not dependent on the government. Right? And it's like, okay, would you have the job you have if it wasn't for the government? Would you have a currency to use if it wasn't for the government? You need the government to produce the jobs that are out there. Because without the government, guess what the only jobs are? Farming, hunting, and fishing. It's like being an Amish fella. Without the government, that's your life. That's independence, where you don't need the government. You, in order to have your job, let's say in some office, telemarketing, whatever it is, acting, a sport, those only exist because of the government and the system that it has created. So it gives you all these jobs, most of which have nothing to do with the actual survival or betterment of humanity. So you are not independent, because at any time your job could be taken over by an immigrant or AI, right? And then all this money you have that you think makes you independent, just like that, your money could be worthless. If the world really pulls away from using the US dollar to back petro sales, then the dollar is going to be worthless. So all that money you have, whoop-de-doo. And you may be saying, well, yeah, I can use the money to tie up things in assets. All right. Well, if you have a house, how are you going to keep that without paying the taxes? Because the money ain't worth anything. Your car, how are you going to keep that running when they're putting E15 gas out there that destroys engines? Right? How is all that going to happen? Right? When there's a famine, what is anything you have worth when you can't eat anything because you have nothing to eat? This independence you have is a delusion. And yet you sit here and you mock these people who are on welfare and stuff as if they're dependent on the government and you're not. It's like two children being in the house and dad is taking care of, let's say, his daughter freely, but his son, he's like, you gotta earn an allowance by mowing the lawn and taking out the trash and doing all this stuff. And then the son thinks he's independent and his sister isn't. And it's like, no, because without your dad, you don't have those jobs you're doing and you don't have any of that money. Right? You're both just children still in the house. And then one of you's acting like you're better than the other. But you're both in the same boat. We see this all over the place with human nature, where in Christianity, we're all in the same boat, the USS sinner there, right? Because we're all sinners, condemned to death and hell, and we can't save ourselves, but we'll have a boatload of freaking jackasses thinking that they're in a different boat somehow. We're the ones sinking, they're not sinking, because they're better than everybody else because they try to keep the law. They try to keep the Sabbath. They do the sacraments. So, they're not sinking. Even though they're in the exact same boat you are in. They're sinners struggling with sin. They've fallen short of the glory of God. And their works are not good enough because they're not on par with Jesus Christ. They're not perfect. So they're just like us. Right? They point at us for being sinners condemned to hell, while they themselves are sinners themselves condemned to hell, acting like they're not. Right? It's this huge deception, and how easy it is to get people who are in the exact same situation, but it looks a little bit different, so they think that they are better. Right? It's all a delusion. A delusion of grandeur, thinking that they're better than someone else. Right? It's basically the reason why a lot of these people do the work they're doing. It makes them feel as though they're independent and they're not as bad as the freeloaders. They're better people than them because they go and do some stupid, pointless job that doesn't benefit anybody. Right? I'm not against jobs and doing work for money. But I'm saying, like, you're a telemarketer. Great, you got a job to support yourself and your family. Great. But how does you trying to sell something to somebody that they don't really want, which is what some of these telemarketers do. I know some of them do, like, help. You call in and they help you out, which I think is a bit beneficial. But a good chunk of the time, it's like they got AI who can do the same thing, right? And you hate your job, you're miserable, but you're independent, which is another funny thing about being this whole independent thing. You're independent because you got this job, right? This job that tells you when to get up and when to be there, when you can go on break and when you can go home, but you're independent, right? It's this delusion as if I put up with this BS slavery here. That makes me better than you and worthy of living, and you're not. Right? It's just delusion. But you have Godspeed if you try to get that through to somebody. Anyway, thank you for your time and attention. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.